This is Bleav in Buckeyes. I'm Brian Browning with All-American cornerback Chekwa. Hey, man, you looking? Hey, I ain't gonna lie, man. You looking pretty sharp over there, man. Like you looking like you played a little bit, you won a little bit, and now you got a whole new little vibe about yourself, man. How you living over there, man? Did you?
Yeah,
are you sponsored by Nike? Still sponsored by Nike? You
nah.
bro.
Nike dropped me after the second injury, but no, man. I'm feeling good, man. A national champion. This was a natty or bust year.
Yep.
Shout out to my guy Denzel Burke. Beginning of the season, he said natty or bust. They got the natty, so once the championship ended, I got my gear. You know what I'm saying? I got my gear delivered. Okay. So yeah, I'm feeling good.
I feel it, man. You're looking sharp, man. You're looking good. I wish you'd have told me, man. I'm gonna get a banner. I'm going a while to put it up, man. I'm a little slow over here, man. But you're looking good, man. But hey, man, I know you went out this past weekend. You went to go see. To be frank, it's the last time that our 24-25 team gets together and celebrate. I know they had the big celebration down at the shoe. I don't know how many people showed up, but I'm gonna throw a number. It was at least 60 to 80,000 people there. A lot of people on the field. A lot of Ohio big names was there. The governor was there. Everybody got to speak, man. And I know you covered it for
NBC.
NBC,
yep.
How was it, man? How'd it go?
Yeah, it was a good time. I'm gonna start off with the positive. It was a good time, great celebration, ton of people. You got to think, like, all these people don't always get to come to the shoe. Like they're not able to always get the tickets. So it's great to open up those doors to the fans and allow the players and the coaches and everybody to come together and celebrate a huge championship. It's been a decade since Ohio State won a national championship, and only 3 since in the 2000s, or I don't know, however many, 50 years. I don't know how many years go back.
68, go 68 to 02. So yeah, that's
you do the math. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. So, definitely a legendary day. I got one little gripe.
What's your gripe, bro?
My gripe is we just got to have a parade. I mean, what's happening here? Look, Columbus, we got to get this right next time. City of Columbus, the University of Ohio State, set up the parade. This is a major city in the U.S. Columbus, if you look at the top 15 populated cities or whatever, Columbus is in there. One of the fastest growing Midwest cities. Listen, Ohio State is professional football in this city. Shut down High Street.
Yeah.
Start from Worthington or something. Go down High Street. Go to campus. Go into the stadium and then have the celebration. That's my only little gripe, is that I want a parade. My kids want a parade, man. We sit out there in the cold. We wave. You know what I'm saying? We want the full experience. But outside of that, man, it was a great moment to really reflect and on the season. And like they said, until the mission is accomplished, you don't get to tell the story. Now they had the opportunity to tell the story. So it was great to see that story happen in front of all of the Buckeye fans.
Yeah, it was good to see, man. Just all the guys, the singers going up there, our captains, and how big faith was for them in this season. Them kind of get to speak to it one last time in front of the Buckeye fan base before they go off until they enjoy their NFL careers. It was just huge. It was great to see. A lot of great turnout. The weather wasn't so bad. It could have been worse, right? Where it's been recent weeks. It wasn't too cold, and it was all around a good time. But I guess we are Buckeye Nation, and it was very noticeable and I guess actually news dropped. I feel like maybe in the middle of the celebration that someone was missing. He was missing because he was heading elsewhere. And that was our defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, decides that he will no longer be working here in Columbus, and he will be taking his talents to Penn State. I can't think of the city. Yeah, I don't know. But man, we lost our defensive coordinator to a rival. Man, like what is going on, man? This is crazy. After a national championship.
Penn State is going for it all. Just watch the moves that Penn State has made. They saw how Michigan kept their seniors for another year. Some guys who could have went off to the NFL. They were able to build that culture, build that leadership and talent base, and win a national championship. And they cheated a little bit as well. Then they saw how Ohio State, similarly, brought some of those guys back. And now you see Penn State doing the same thing. Some guys who probably could have, went off, made some money in the NFL, get a little bit of NIL, stay another year. They push some guys out the door that they really don't want no more as well. And now, they lost their defensive coordinator to Clemson. They go to the one team they just can't beat. When's the last time Penn State beat Ohio State? 2017?
I don't know.
Not since Ryan Day's been head coach. All right. They go to the one team that they cannot beat and take the defensive coordinator. I think it was a strategic move from a team who is trying to do everything to push all their chips into the middle of the table and win a national championship. And then it's, I guess the biggest question for Buckeye Nation, well, two questions. One is, why would Jim Knowles go to Penn State? Right? Yeah. And then where does Ohio State go from here? I'm interested in your perspective on the why.
Yeah, first of all, why is the funny thing about the why, especially when it comes to coaching, is there could be a ton of whys, right? A long list of whys that he left Ohio State. And when it comes down to it, we never gonna really know the exact reason that Jim Knowles left to go to Penn State. But let's start listing them, because it's a long list, right? So the first thing to kind of say is that Coach Knowles did not really care for our defensive line coach, the legendary Coach Larry Johnson, who obviously been from Penn State, right? We got him from Penn State over to Ohio State to coach our defensive line. And this, as always, was rumored that they had this different mindsets on schemes and how they should line up and personnel-wise as a defense. We can check that back as a why. Yeah. Rumored that him and Coach Day had a good falling out after the Oregon game, after they allowed a certain amount of points, and Coach Day said he had to kind of step into the room and kind of try to make some adjustments on things. And from there, they maybe had a little. Maybe he didn't like that. Maybe he liked to run his defense the way he liked to run his defense. He didn't want to hear some direct feedback from the head man on what was going on there. There's a money situation here on the why. We know that Penn State made him the highest paid coordinator in college football. I think he has a base salary now at $3.1 million per year. Ohio State had him at, I think, about 2.2. It was rumored that, when negotiations started, they bumped up to 2.75. So it's not like they was out of the ballpark, but still 3.1 is more than 2.75. And obviously when these coaches sign these deals, they got incentives and things of that nature. From what I understand, Coach Knowles was set to make about $3 million this year at Ohio State due to the fact that we won, due to incentives. We made the playoffs. We won the national championship. Obviously, our defense was outstanding. Ranked number one in several categories. I'm sure there's some of that. Put some more dollars in his pocket. But now his base salary is at 3.1. And I understand with incentives at Penn State, he could get that up to close to maybe a little bit over $4 million if he has another.
That's a lot of money.
Outstanding year. It's a lot of money. What else is a why? He's from Pennsylvania. He's from the Philadelphia area. So he most likely grew up a Penn State fan. And the last why, it might just be Buckeye Nation. We're kind of harsh. Right? Every time it's a big game, if one thing doesn't quite have a great day, we say we need to get rid of that thing. We can get all the way ramped up to as crazy as people making threats to us, as crazy as we just need to get this person out the door. And that's a list of whys on why Jim Knowles might have decided to part ways with Ohio State.
Yeah, the Lunatic Fringe fired Jim Knowles at least 3 or 4 times during his tenure at Ohio State. But and I've been calming the Lunatic Fringe down, giving them. You gotta give them some space to do their thing, but sometimes we gotta keep them on the wraps too, because some of that pressure is necessary to make sure the right things are happening, right? So that's my position as treasurer of the Lunatic Fringe. But yeah, one thing I would say, because like you said, we're never going to know the exact why, right? But one thing that is a metric is 3.1 million versus the reported 2.75 million or whatever, and whatever stipulations go with both contracts, right? But the potential to make over $4 million versus You start a base salary at 2.7, maybe the potential to make over $3 million or whatever. That is a market value that is set. Okay, so you can say what you want. Oh, he left because of the money. He left because he didn't want to be here. He's not loyal, etc. Money got him to Ohio State. Right? He was at Oklahoma State before that.
Right.
He didn't grow up in Columbus, Ohio, Dublin. He didn't grow up in Cleveland, right? He worked his way up over a long period of time as a great mind in college football. And what got him to Ohio State was, we're going to pay you and make you one of the highest paid assistants, maybe the highest paid assistant in college football. Well, what happened this year is Notre Dame lost a defensive coordinator. Their defense coordinator went to the NFL. Penn State lost a defensive coordinator, right? Oklahoma was trying to lure him over to Oklahoma. So the price went up. And, you mentioned some of the challenges with philosophies. And one thing, we go back to the Oregon game. They had that loss, and the talk was, they spent the time with the week with the defense, and they focused on fixing the defense. And what we saw after the Oregon game, which is interesting to me, is that we saw more, to me, from what I saw more of a Jim Knowles type defense.
Yeah.
Prior to Oregon game, it looked more like just more your traditional type 4-3 defense, probably leaning more towards what Larry Johnson is used to.
Yeah, because it's conservative defense. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Front get the pressure, if not, no pressure.
But after Oregon, it was more Jim Knowles. You saw 3 high safeties. How many times did we see 3 high safeties look with Caleb Downs sitting in the middle, and no one knows where Caleb Downs was going to end up, and then he ends up by the ball. That's the base of Jim Knowles' defense, which requires you to do something different up front. It requires you to do something different up front, otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Except they still have 4 down linemen. They didn't shift to the three down linemen that you usually see at Jim Knowles. So it was kind of a hybrid of the two, which I thought worked exceptionally well. I mean, the numbers show it worked exceptionally well, except it wasn't fully what Knowles does, and it wasn't fully what Larry Johnson does. To me, it was something better. But still, you got 2 guys who have been in this game for a long time and like to do what they do. That could have played somewhat of a factor. I think when the next question of where does Ohio State go from here is the most important one. I don't think it matters so much why this happened. I think at the end of the day, the 2 sides couldn't agree to what they want, right?
Yeah.
So where do they go from here, to me, is interesting. And I think you do want to keep some of the same type of scheme and approach, but I'm not sure how you do it, how you exactly get there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, first off, we have to say, right? Obviously, like you said, we've seen the defense flip a switch, be able to, from the Oregon game, essentially be lights out. There was no dip in competition, right? We played some of the best teams in the nation. We played Oregon again. We played, and the defense played fantastic and throughout that run there. But it was something that we had to account for. It's like the defense is going to look really different next year, right? Like we lost essentially our whole defensive line. We lost our captain linebacker. We lost our star cornerback and Denzel Burke. We lost our nickelback and Jordan Hancock. All these guys will most likely be playing on Sundays. So personnel is different, right? And it matters, right? If we call in certain things, you kind of got to know at certain times that this guy's going to win. If not, it's not going to work. So if a guy gets blocked or a guy, misses his technique as a defensive back, none of it works, right? So that counts into it. But the question at hand is, where do we go, right? So I know it's a lot of, we could go anywhere, right? Because I don't know how much the Ohio State was planning for this. But when it comes down to it, we're Ohio State, and we expect our defense. We don't want our defense to go back to what it looked like before Jim Knowles. I think we all could agree to that. It was a dark time in Ohio State football, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't know, right? I think a lot of names again thrown out. I think the first name that most people are speaking about is a guy that Knowles essentially brought in with him is Matt G, who's our safety coach. And I think you at the presser on Sunday at the stadium, I Bleav you said that Coach Day had a lot of love to kind of and speaking about Matt G and what he brought to the table in his mindset.
Yeah, for lack of the exact quote, he basically says he's one of the great young minds in college football, which would allude to me that they views him as a future potential defensive coordinator. The challenge for me, like if you're gonna promote from within and keep things intact, because if there's ever a college football era where keeping things intact makes sense, this is the era, right? With NIL and transfer portal, it makes sense. The challenge for me is that there's some OGs with on the defensive side of the ball right now, who almost feel like you overlook some of them if you go to Matty G. Mm-hmm. And while people may say that doesn't matter, right? If you believe this is the best guy for the job, you put him in position. It does matter because, like we said, there's a lot of whys that could lead to a Jim Knowles leaving. There's a lot of whys that could lead to a Larry Johnson leaving or a Tim Walton leaving. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned Tim Walton specifically because he's a guy who's had defensive coordinator experience. Mm-hmm. He's also a guy who's a defensive back coach. Yeah. Similar to Matty G, is also a defensive back coach, right? And he's been a big time recruiter of high level talent. Yeah. And I don't know what his aspirations are. Mm-hmm. But if he was to get a promotion in football, the only place for him really to go is coordinator, right? There's nothing else. The only promotion that he could get is coordinator, and if he's not tapped for coordinator, and I'm not saying he wants to be it, but if he's not tapped, how does that impact him? To me, it almost feels more comfortable to get a guy from outside the program to lead the defense. And if you view Matty G in the way that Ryan Day spoke highly about him as a future defensive coordinator, to make him a co-defensive coordinator as basically the guy in training for the next coordinator job. That almost seems like the most the best approach to
the safest way.
Yeah, the safest way.
Yeah. Well, because you got to look at Coach Walton, right? He's currently the assistant head coach, right? He's assistant head coach of the program. So he already kind of he got a pretty strong title of himself. But like you say, he got coordinator experience. He's coordinator of the Miami Hurricanes, coordinator at Memphis for a season. He was actually the coordinator of the St. Louis Rams for a season. So he has a lot of experience, and obviously he's a former Buckeye. So like you say, he could easily feel slighted on how things kind of roll from there. But once again, also as a coach, and as we know, as you get into this football where sometimes you want to be comfortable. You don't want to be maybe quite the coordinator because that's going to put you in a different type of seat, right, than you are, to kind of be that defensive back coach. So that's kind of just something they had to discuss internally and figure out, hey, we don't want to ruffle your feathers. Do you want this? Do you not? And that, we'll see how it plays out. But Coach Day is going to have to do what's best for Ohio State. I know when Larry Johnson came over from Penn State, I don't think he really wants this anymore. There's always talk about him doing a little bit more around the program, maybe a coordinator position, something of that role. I know he's kind of getting on the back end of it. I think he just really wants to stick with his defensive line now. So I don't think he really would want to take on that responsibility. But I'm going to throw this at you because he's currently on the roster. You just watch his best friend coach in the national championship game, Marcus Freeman.
Oh, I know you're going.
James Laurinaitis, man. Who knows defense more than James Laurinaitis, man? You played with the guy. He was one of our captains.
Yeah.
He's there. Could he be that young mind that steps up and maybe hold the mold and keep things together? What's your thought on James possibly stepping in that role? Because it's a young man's sport. He's a young man.
Yeah. So based on what I just mentioned, I think just the lack of coordinating and just even position coach experience makes him a little bit too soon, I think. I would love for James to be defensive coordinator. If James gets a defensive coordinator position, I'm sending him my resume to be quality control, defensive assistant. I'll watch the film and tell y'all what I see, pretty much. But yeah, no, I think it's just a little bit too soon in terms of experience. At least Matt Matty G has defensive coordinator experience. None of those defenses have been, great, right? But
That matters.
he does.
That matters, Jim.
He has been in the position. Coach Walton has been in the position. Coach Larry Johnson has been around for a long time. And there's a ton of guys out there with, good resumes that can fit the bill. The one thing I would say, just not to belabor the topic, one thing I would say is I like Caleb Downs in this system. I like taking a guy with the level of football intelligence, athleticism, and the ability and the nose for the ball that he has to be the player that they can use as the adjuster in this type of defense. When you put Caleb Downs in that adjuster position where he can end up anywhere and the defense really can't really account for him or know where he's going to end up, it is such a weapon. So I would like to see some consistency, some stability in terms of this type of defense. Mm-hmm. But you can still find a guy from outside who runs his defense.
Yeah, well. I like where you're going. So you are saying that we got Chip Kelly, former head coach. You're saying bring in Nick Saban to be the new defensive coordinator, man. Right? Is that what I'm hearing? Are you?
No.
No.
That is definitely not what I said. That is not what I said. But somebody to think about here is John Haycock out there at Iowa State, my former D coordinator, Jim Haycock's brother. Mm-hmm. And something to think about, he's a guy with a lot of experience out there. He could command a group, could bring guys together. And, he's been around the program a little bit. I think he coached at Youngstown. He's been in Ohio. Yeah. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, no. I mean, but like I said, we don't know, right? When it comes down to it, it's reason to stay in house, promote. Several reasons there, but like you had brought up, there's also reasons to go outside and see, who you feel is the top guy, one of the top guys of the nation, and bring them into some of that top money, and still a guy like, to be frank, like we kind of got our guy stuff, right? So we'll have to play out. Obviously, once we kind of start hearing a little bit more, I feel like this is a situation that Ohio State, and there's no real reason to rush it, right? In my opinion, obviously the offseason is just officially starting. Obviously, but it's college football. Stuff is always going on. But at the same time, you want to make sure you get the right guy. So I think you need to, have some discussion internally about what guys are feeling. Externally, if you got some candidates out there you want to at least talk to and bring them in and go through that interview process. This is loud on the table. But once we hear more and know more, obviously we'll be willing to state our opinions and get a little bit more to it in regards to that. So I guess, good episode right here, man. So, what else do we want to get into? Obviously we lost a lot of guys, right? We lost a lot of seniors especially on the defense side of the ball. A lot of seniors. We'll be looking at a new quarterback next year. Obviously, we'll be keeping up with all that information and what that looks like. Anything, I guess, right now that the season is officially over, and we're looking at the 25 team. I guess, what is your biggest concern that you could have for our team? And is it defensive coordinator? Is it a specific position group that you're looking at as we get ready to go into this offseason and look at? And it's time to really start developing our guys that we have around here as we get ready for the new year.
Yeah, coordinator is number one because we really want to know what defense we're actually going to be running. That's going to be very, very important. But as important is the players that are going to fit within whatever scheme you're going to try to run. And I think on defense, it lost a ton of players, but we still got two starting corners. Right? Jermaine Matthews was a starting corner this year. He played enough to be a starter. He was viewed as a starter by the staff. And even Olsen is coming back for another year. So, you want to reduce the penalties there. But we got two starting corners, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And we got Caleb Downs at the safety position. There's guys like Jalen McClain. Malik Hartford has played a lot of football. He played a lot his freshman year. That second safety position is one to look at in the depth at safety. It's going to be important if we do stay in the same system where we play with basically three safeties. All right. So I think safety nickel is probably the biggest void. Lorenzo Styles kind of walks into that nickel position, but you want some competition at the nickel. You really want some competition. You want to make sure you get the best guy on the field. A guy who didn't get a lot of credit was Jordan Hancock, and he was probably one of the best nickels, not probably, definitely one of the best nickel corners in college football, just a lead at the position, and you want to be able to mimic that. Offensively, though, where are the holes offensively? Or the biggest questions there?
So for me, essentially, we really didn't have enough time to talk about it because we've been busy, right? We've been playing actual games and winning national championship. But I guess, also always start for me, it's the offensive line. We had a couple transfers come in, 2 offensive tackles. One guy out of Rice, Ethan, I'm going to butcher his last name, on the Wahi. He's out of Rice. Big guy, really big guy, 6'6", 345 is listed. So he's a big, heavy guy. I know he's a wild guy, pow guy. He like to kind of do all that kind of stuff. So, we'll see what he brings to the table. And also Phillip Daniels, who's out of Cincinnati, but was playing his college ball out of Minnesota. We brought him in as well. So those will be 2 new guys there at that offensive tackle position. Obviously, we will be losing both our offensive tackles as Josh Fryer and Josh Simmons goes on to the NFL from there. So, obviously, we'll be a new quarterback. Will Howard's not coming back, so our offensive tackles will be very important. So we got some guys in. We got young guys on the roster. I'm ready and willing to see them compete for that starting role as well. I don't want these transfers coming in and just being, given a spot on the back. I want them to compete. I want to be able to see that they're the best player and they earn it with their play on the field leading to the season. So that would be my thing right there. Offensive tackles. Interior, we should be good. We're bringing back a lot of experience, but that offensive tackle role will be new. So ready to see some guys battle it out, change their body, learn more football, do whatever it takes to be the best player they could be, and leave it out there on the field and make a decision on who's the best guy to lead our Buckeyes in that role.
Yeah, that quarterback is the biggest question for sure. I think on the entire team. I like the fact that Lincoln Kingholz is staying to compete. A big athletic player who, depending on how he develops from a passing standpoint, understanding defense, etc., can really go out there and compete. Everybody's just handing it to Julian Sand, and while I watch him throw the ball, man, he can throw the ball as good as any young player in football. But obviously, playing quarterback is more than just being able to throw the ball. And playing quarterback at Ohio State is a lot more than just being able to throw the ball. You got to handle a lot of pressure and be able to deal with the on-field and off-the-field stuff. So you want a guy who can handle all of that, and there's no shoo-in at the quarterback position at a school like this. So that's going to be the kind of the biggest thing. And they don't really have a spring. I mean, what's spring football look like? They just finished football just now. Did they get a break, or did they just go right into spring football?
No. We're a fresh team now, man. All those old guys are gone. Get the young guys going. Get a few weeks off to figure out where your classes are located at for spring semester. But no, it's time to compete for those young guys. I think Coach Day said it best. I think he said that the pressure on Sunday, but he said Will Howard leaving, he said that best example of what it takes to be a starting quarterback at Ohio State. That's what he's looking for in this next guy. So obviously Julian Sand has the special arm. Lincoln Kingholz is there. He's the most athletic one of the quarterbacks that we have. And then we have St. Clair coming in as well. And he'll be a true freshman, but we know he has a lot of talent and will bring a lot to the table as well.
But Will Howard was in college for 6 years, 5 years?
Hey, man. I mean, he's done now.
Whatever example he set.
You got to work to get that type of experience.
They ain't old enough. They're not old enough. They ain't been on the field for real. So they just need to be able to make good decisions with their football. The guy who can make the best decisions. All these guys are talented players.
Yeah, right.
They need to show they can make the throws and those things, but they also got to be able to take care of football, make good decisions. This is a year where the first half of the year has to be won defensively, in my opinion. It has to be won defensively. We have to be a high-level defense in college football. Obviously missing some guys defensively, a ton of guys going on to the NFL. But a ton of guys developed underneath them and got playing time. And, guys like CJ Hicks, what does he play? Does he play defensive end next year? Like, there's some talent there, and they can't really miss a beat defensively. I mean, they got to fill those holes. Obviously, they're not going to be the same level of defense. But I think it's similar to when, our freshman year, when we lost, the AJ Hawks, the Bobby Carpenter, all three starting linebackers, lost some corners, Ashton Yabodi, all these guys. Guys like James Laurinaitis stepped up and became great players. Like Malcolm Jenkins stepped up and became that's what we're going to need defensively to be able to, get that new quarterback starting to work in, get some experience and get into a groove and develop and, into who he's going to be. Except you got an early game against Texas.
Against Texas, yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean, there we have some new things as well, right? I mean, yeah, but I don't know, man. It's a lot of time before the end with a lot of things to be sorted out. Obviously, if you just follow us, we bring you all the news. We'll bring you Tharsar, this new defensive coordinator, or whoever we decide to hire in that position. Just make sure you follow us on all platforms, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just stay tuned to Bleav in Buckeyes. We'll give you our opinions, and we'll let you know what happened. I think that's what we do best here. But we'll end this show as we always do with my man Chim with the nice black and gold national champion fizz on. A nice, strong OH.
Ayo.
Go Bucks. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.